Jesus, for blessing me. Come on, wherever you are, I just want to praise you. Just want to praise you. Forever, forever, and ever, and ever, and ever, and ever. For all you've done, all you've done, all you've done for me. Blessings and honor, they all belong to you. Thank you, Jesus, for blessing me. Come on, let's take it up. Oh, I just want to praise you forever, forever, and ever, and ever, and ever, for all you've done, all you've done, all you've done for me. Blessings and glory, blessings and glory, and honor, they all belong to you. Thank you, Jesus, for blessing me, for blessing me. Yes, I just want to praise you forever, forever, and ever, and ever, and ever, for all you've done for me, Lord, everything you've done for me. Blessings and glory, and honor, they all belong to you. Thank you, Jesus, for blessing me. Come on, last time. Oh, I just want to praise you forever, and ever, and ever, for all you've done, everything you've done for me. Blessings and glory, and honor, they all belong to you. Blessings and glory, and honor, they all belong to you. Come on, three parts. Blessings and glory, and honor, they all belong to you. Blessings and glory, and honor, they all belong to you. After all I've been through, I'm still gonna give your name praise, because you're worthy, because you've been good. You've been so good. You've been so kind. You've been a very good friend of mine. Blessings and glory, we bless you. We bless you. They all belong to you. Blessings and glory, and honor, they all belong to you. Come on, blessings and glory, and honor, they all belong to you. Thank you, Jesus, for blessing me. Hallelujah. Come on and give God praise for his.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am Reverend Mia Shagag Whitlock. I am the First Lady and Executive Minister at Reed Temple AME Church. I want to welcome you to Reed Temple's lay organization that have organized a candidates forum. This is our second candidates forum. We have so many decisions to make in June and July and then in September that we couldn't put it all in one program. So we thank you. And those candidates who have joined us, thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for allowing us to know who you are so we know what you're about. It is so important. If we found nothing else in the 2020 election, we understand that our voice matters. And it's even more important in these local elections. So come on, it is time to learn about our candidates. Our lay organization reached out to all the right people to make sure that we have the candidates here. We have the information for you. So sit back. Get out your pen and pencil, get a piece of paper so that you can take notes on the candidates that you want to see. Welcome to Reed Temple's Lay Organization Candidates Forum Part 2.
Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to the 2022 Candidates Forum, sponsored by the James A. Parker Lay Organization. This is your opportunity to meet and engage the candidates seeking office in the upcoming midterm elections. We are presenting 4 forums prior to the election. Today's forum, you will meet the candidates running for County Council at Large and the County Executive's Office. Voting affects our community and every vote counts. Register to vote and make your voice heard. Election results often come down to those who decided that it was important for them to go out and cast their vote. The future of the county is in the ballot and it's in your hands. My appreciation to the James A. Parker Lay Organization and the Social Action Committee for their advocacy and commitment to serve our community where we live, work, and worship. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Hi, my name is Linda Thornton Thomas, and I am the president of the Prince George's County NAACP. I am excited to be here. I know we're going to have a robust conversation today, and I hope that each and every one of you have an opportunity to get your questions heard. I want to share a little bit about the NAACP. It is a civil rights organization, and we work on causes from education to healthcare. We have great opportunities for volunteering. You can come and participate in some of our workshops. We have seminars, and we would love to have you to become a member. So please go on our website, and that's www.princegeorgescountynaacp.org, and sign up. We look forward to talking to you, and we thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Greetings to everyone. Thank you for joining us for this candidate forum. We are social justice ministry fighting and continuing the mission of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who was the founder of our organization. If you would like more information about Prince George's County SCLC, you may visit us at pgmdsclc.org. We look forward to you visiting us and join us as we continue Dr. King's mission. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Mike Moses. I'm the Maryland State Commander for the National Association of Black Veterans located in the Southern Maryland area. We can be found on the website, cc0096nevvets.com. Our basic function and mission is to actually coach veterans on how to file a compensation claim. We deal with veterans from the Korean War all the way up to the present day. So we look forward to membership also when we actually sit down and entertain you. We just have 3 certain forms we ask you to kind of review and then sign out. And then once you sign those, we're good to go. We set up an individual appointment for you. And we go over the whole process. We deal with the federal law, state law, and the local law. Kind of combine everything together. We do a little homework. We do a little role play. So by the time you're called in for your what they call a CMP exam, which is a compensation pension exam, you're well on your way to actually controlling and actually knowing how to file your claim step by step. So I look forward to meeting you. I look forward to everybody giving me a call. Again, you can reach me on my website, cc0096nevvets.com. And that'll give you the first step towards filing your claim. Look forward to meeting you. Thank you.
I am Jane Taylor Thomas, President and CEO of the South County Economic Development Association, Inc., known as CEDA. CEDA provides community-based leadership and planning for economic growth and development in Prince George's and Charles counties. CETA is a major stakeholder, and an organization of record on issues having an economic impact on the quality of life that is experienced by citizens in the community. For information about CETA, go to cetainc.org.
Hi, my name is Linda Thornton Thomas, and I am the president of the Prince George's County NAACP. I am excited to be here. I know we're going to have a robust conversation today, and I hope that each and every one of you have an opportunity to get your questions heard. I want to share a little bit about the NAACP. It is a civil rights organization, and we work on causes from education to healthcare. We have great opportunities for volunteering. You can come and participate in some of our workshops. We have seminars, and we would love to have you to become a member. So please go on our website, and that's www.princegorgescountynaacp.org, and sign up. We look forward to talking to you, and we thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Okay. Okay. Hello, everyone. I am excited to be here, and I hope you are as well. I would like to introduce our moderator for today. Our moderator is Michelle Wiggins. Michelle is a native Washingtonian and has been a longtime resident of Prince George's County. She has over 27 years of federal service and over 35 years of experience in public relations. Now, currently, Ms. Wiggins serves as a development coordinator for the Boris Lawrence Henderson Foundation, which is a nonprofit Black mental health advocacy group founded by Academy Awards and Emmy nominations actress Tajay P. Henderson. Michelle is a graduate of Duke Ellington School of the Arts. She received a Bachelor's of Science in Behavioral Science, Master's of Science in Acquisition and Supply Chain Management, and an MBA from the University of Maryland in College Park. Michelle has a passion for helping others in need and has volunteered her time and service at many organizations within the Maryland community. Right? Her services include, working with people and focusing on their areas of expertise. Michelle serves as a vice chair of the communication for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People in Prince George's County. I'm happy to have her. She is our chair. Yes. And she is a member of the Top Ladies of Distinction at Prince George's County chapter. And so I want to take this opportunity and welcome her and thank her for being our moderator for today. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Michelle. Thank you.
Good afternoon. And thank you, Ms. Thompson, for your introduction. And thank you to our host. I am Michelle Wiggins, and I'm pleased to be your moderator for this afternoon's County Council at Large Forum. I would like to welcome all of you for taking this time to join us. An invitation was sent to all of the candidates, and I would now like to introduce those candidates who could be here with us today. Please forgive me and feel free to correct me if I mispronounce your name. In alphabetical order, we have candidate Sam Elira Jr., candidate Leo Bachi Iyombo, candidate Mel Franklin, candidate Calvin Hawkins, and candidate Jonathan White. Thank you all. We will now begin with our first question to be addressed in your opening statements. First up, I would like to introduce again candidate Sam Elira Jr. Mr. Elira, would you please give us your opening statement, and would you please answer for us, what is your plan to improve constituent services, especially support of veterans?
Thank you, Ms. Wiggins. It's actually senior. I don't know where it says junior. I have a junior. But Sammy Lyra, Senior here, the candidate for Prince George's County Council at Large. I am a long life resident of Prince George's County. I have a small boutique law firm located here in Bowie, Maryland, near City Hall, called the Lyra Law Firm. You might have heard of it. We do a lot of general practice work. What that means is we do a little bit of everything. You come here, we can assist you. And I am not new to leadership. We advocate for folks who, in terms of family law, who are trying to obtain custody of their children when the other parent is unfit, whether it's mother or father. We advocate and make sure that the resident of Prince George's County have proper representation in court. And the other thing that we do, although Maryland doesn't mandate that attorneys provide pro bono work, we have a pro bono program in my firm where we take at least 3 cases where we give free representation to small business owners and other individuals who are facing financial difficulty. In fact, we've been working with a few business owners during the pandemic who landlords been trying to evict them. I'm glad to say that we were able to ensure that their doors remain open and that they continue to employ residents of Prince George's County. That's important to me. I understand that the true path to happiness is rendering service to others, which only reason why that propelled me to public service. I'm not a politician. I'm an attorney by trade. I was raised in Prince George's County, attended Bowie State University, and then went to Western Michigan for law school. But the goal was always to come back here to do the best I can in Prince George's County. And as a concerned citizen, as I look around in terms of the wealth that we're supposed to have in the county, I don't believe that the wealth is expressed when you look around. Our roads inadequate. It's potholes, speed bumps all over the place. Property tax it tend to be raised each year. And the question that raised to mind, and when I speak to a lot of the constituents, is where's this money going? And then of course we understand that in raising taxes, that's one way to raise revenue, but that cannot be the only thing, only way to raise revenue. We have to explore other options, right? Our public school system's inadequate and has been underperforming for quite some time. And we have a lot of ideas and innovative goals to ensure that our school system progress the way it should. We have to invest in our small businesses as well and give incentives for other businesses to invest in Prince George's County. That's key. And there's some reason why I'm running for county council. And Ms. Wiggins, I don't recall the question in terms of the veterans, but what I will say is that I'm the business officer of the East Coast chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen. And we have, chapters all throughout the United States, and a lot of those folks in the chapters, obviously, they're veterans from the, World War II. And although, I'm not old enough to participate in World War II, they saw it fit to give me the business officer position, and I'm just honored to be among folks who are valuable and serve and did a wonderful thing for our country. So I think that the important thing is to make sure that we invest in our veterans. Any mandates or where there's reforms as a county council at large, we want to make sure that we invest in our military, invest in our veterans, because they're important, because they play a significant role in the success of our country. They're important because oftentimes you see folks, they serve, but then come out in the real world, but then doesn't have the resources that they need. So we have to ensure the resources are there for our veterans, because they're important, because that and not investing in our veterans, that's one way in which you see the rate of homelessness, because these folks come here after serving, and then they have certain issues, whether it's mental health and certain diagnoses that needs to be addressed, but it's not being addressed properly. So having the resources in place, whether it's treatment, assessment, and whatever that they need, and ensure that they become productive citizens of the state, is important.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your answer. Next, we will have candidate Leo Bachi Iyombo. I will pose the same question to you. What's your plan to improve constituent services, especially support for veterans? So it looks like we've lost him. We might be having technical difficulties. So what I would like to do is just move on to the next candidate, and we will circle back. The next candidate is Mel Franklin. Mr. Franklin, would you please give your opening statement and also answer, what's your plan to improve constituent services, especially support for veterans?
Sure. And before I go forward, is there a time limit for my answer?
It's 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Great. Thank you. That's good to know.
Thank you for asking.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you first, the Reed Temple family, for having me. Pastor, well, obviously First Lady Whitlock for leading this effort. Pastor Whitlock, I've been at Reed Temple many times and over the years and have always felt at home. So I want to thank you so much for having me. I want to thank all the other organizations who are part of this great event. My name is Mel Franklin. I've had the privilege of serving the residents of Prince George's County, first as a county council member representing District 9, which is the southern end of the county, for 2 terms. And then the voters of Prince George's County in 2018 elected myself and Council Chair Calvin Hawkins as your 2 at-large members of the county council. So we represent every single person who lives in Prince George's County. And it's been a privilege over these years. I'm an attorney by trade. I began as an attorney doing antitrust and consumer protection at the Federal Trade Commission, and before I became a council member, as well as some other roles. And as a council member, when I first took office, we were dealing with a spike in crime. We had in early 2011, we were having a homicide each day, and we had to work with then County Executive Baker over the next 8 years to reduce violent crime by 58% from what it was when I took office. And we led the state in job creation 5 straight years. And that was intentional in terms of reinvesting in Prince George's County in ways that we'd never done before. I've had the opportunity to pass over 100 pieces of legislation into law, and it's been a privilege to focus on issues like economic development and job creation, investing in our young people, particularly our public schools, focusing on increasing public safety resources and assets, and making sure that we have the kinds of services, wraparound services that we need for our communities that are most in need. I think with our veterans, our veterans are critical to our community. We have the largest veteran population in the state of Maryland. I support creating a one-stop shop, a senior and veterans resource center. I also support doing an on-the-go senior and veterans pop-up resource center, bringing all the agencies to key locations quarterly in the county. There are a number of things we can do to improve constituent services for veterans, and I look forward to having this conversation today about all of those issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to now circle back to Mr. Iyombo, if he is available. Oh, there you go. Yes. So would you please give your opening statement and answer for us? What is your plan to improve constituent services, especially support for veterans?
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Higgins, and thank Reed Temple AME Church for having us, and thank you to all my fellow candidates for coming in and to the forum. My name is Leo Iyombo, and I'm a proud graduate of Prince George's Public School, Suitland High School class of 1990. I'm a father, I'm a businessman, I'm a clinician, I'm an eye doctor by training. I'm a professor at Howard University, I'm an academician. I'm an author, a former healthcare executive, former health platform education executive, and an international development expert. Now, my key will be to make sure that the veterans are informed of what services are available. So we have to try to disseminate as much information out there so that we can be able to reach as much veterans as possible. And we can do that through churches, we could do that through regular public forums, we could do that through regular hubs, even shopping centers, that we can be able to reach some of these veterans for them to be informed that these services are being provided by the county. Another issue that I might talk about is transparency. The county has not been that transparent about, litigating issues when it comes to what needs to be informed to the citizens. I think that's an area that we need to look and we need to explore. And a lot of citizens also felt left behind with the county. And one of the reasons why I'm running is because some people don't feel like the county represents them. And a simple example of that is basic rent. Rent is due in PG County on the 5th of the month, and rent is due in Montgomery County on the 10th. Montgomery County is richer than 16 states, 16 U.S. states. And the people of Montgomery County have a higher per capita income than the people in PG County. So why do we make our citizens in PG County pay rent on the 5th when we can give them those extra 5 days to be able to pay their rent and pay it on time? And we talk about inflation. That's where we should start. We should start giving them that break as opposed to penalizing them for paying rent late and taking them to court where the cases are going to go nowhere. They're still going to pay the rent. So we're putting unnecessary pressure to our citizens, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we will move on to candidate Calvin Hawkins. Would you please answer the same question? What's your plan to improve constituent services, especially support for veterans?
Thank you, Ms. Wiggins, for that question. And thank you, Pastor Whitlock and First Lady Whitlock and all who involved with making this a reality. For me, I'm known for the constituent services occurring in my office as a council member at large. So I will continue to build on the reputation I have now in responding to citizens. But I also wanted to say, along with Councilmember Mel Franklin, we have been involved in the last 3 years in the most significant crisis impacting Prince George's County, COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic. Notwithstanding that, we have still been able to provide record funding to our school system, and we created what we call public-private partnership to build 6 new middle schools to address some of the concerns in education. We're working to give seniors some of the things they need while not forgetting about working families. We're working to help reform our police department while giving our returning citizens an opportunity to become productive citizens while still holding them accountable as they come back into society. Mr. Moses may know this, well, not may know it, I'm sure he knows it, as Councilmember Franklin knows it, and it was said. We have the highest percentage of veterans anywhere here in Prince George's County than anywhere in the state of Maryland. Addressing your concern about veterans, this time around in our budget, we put $457,300 to expand services for our veterans. So I say that to you to say that we understand what's going on with our veterans. And one thing Councilmember Franklin and I have been able to do in our vision in leading our county and serving each and every one of you is have the courage to talk about equity and put in public policies that address equity, generational wealth for all. That's the kind of leadership and service that I've provided along with my colleagues over the last 3.5 years. And I'm hopeful that my service on the council will continue to get your support and your vote on July the 19th. Thank you very much, Ms. Wiggins.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Now, next, we will have candidate Jonathan White. Would you give your opening statement and also answer the question, what's your plan to improve constituent services, especially for veterans?
Okay. My plan is to foster a larger civic engagement through methods that improve transparency, accountability, efficiency, and openness in our county government. Next, I'll promote a philosophy of service before self within our county government. I am a veteran. I deployed downrange. I'm a veteran of the United States Air Force. I did 20 years, 6 days. I am familiar with the disability claims and all the services at the VA. So if I'm elected, I will help each and every veteran write their resume, help them with their disability claim, help them with their VA issues, help them with their mental health crisis. And that's my goal. As a veteran, every veteran is my brother and sister. So that is my goal. And that's what I aim to do. And if any veterans need help, even if I'm not elected, please contact me and I'll help you with any claim, anything that has to be done to help you succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we will move on to our next question. We will go in the same order. Our next question: how would you ensure that funding for public safety is made a priority to combat the increasing crime rate in Prince George's County? The second part of that question is, how would you monitor and assess the use of these funds? Mr. Elira, would you please respond?
Ms. Wiggins, would you repeat that first part of that question for me, please?
Certainly. How would you ensure that funding for public safety is made a priority to combat the increasing crime rate in Prince George's County?
Well, the question is a good question. I mean, public safety is important. I mean, obviously, crime rates tend to increase in the county as of late, and I don't think the pandemic did a good job to alleviate that. I think it increased the crime because you have a situation where folks is a trauma with respect to the pandemic, and there was already a crime issue as well. And I think funding need to be allocated efficiently and effectively, and work with the law enforcement to ensure that, one, they have the resources that they need to do their jobs. And as far as monitoring the fund, we need to make sure that the funding that is being allocated is being used in areas that is efficient and effective. And if the areas in which that the funds are being used are not effective, then we need to explore other methods. But it's of course, but I think the key is to make sure law enforcement have the resources that they need. That's key. And for me, and I tell you, one of the initiatives that I'm running on as county council at large is to for me, I think there's a connection between mental health and crime. So it's to ensure that funding also in terms of public safety goes into assessment for mental health, and then diagnoses as well. And then if the folks' insurance won't allow it, then give them free treatment, because we have a lot of folks who are walking around diagnosed or has mental issues, but they don't know they have mental issues. But if we have the treatment necessary, and they can go and seek the treatment that they need, then we can see what they do, issues that they do have, and then give them the proper treatment forward. And I think that would alleviate and lessen crime as well. So I think with public safety, it goes hand in hand with mental health issue that we have. It's a crisis nationwide, and I tell you, I believe the experts say 1 out of 5 adults in the country has a mental health issue. But then in Prince George's County, I believe, I'm an attorney, I'm not a math savvy, but I think that's 140,000 in Prince George's County of citizens affected by mental health. So we have to make sure that the treatments and the resources are accessible, and then free treatment and assessments as well. That's key. And of course, I think that would do a good job in alleviating this issue we have with respect to public safety.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I just want to remind that we have 1 minute for the response. We will now move on to Mr. Iyambo. Would you please answer the question and let me repeat it for you? How would you ensure that funding for public safety is made a priority to combat the increasing crime rate in Prince George's County? And how would you monitor and assess the use of these funds? I think, again, we lost Mr. Iyambo. He must be having some difficulties today. So can we just move on to Mr. Franklin for that answer?
Sure, and thank you for the question. Public safety is a public health crisis and a public health challenge, and we need to approach it that way with the all hands on deck strategy and approach, not just reactively, which is the law enforcement part, but also proactively. One of the biggest things that we did in the first 8 years I was a county council member was a Transforming Neighborhoods initiative. Council Chair Hawkins can speak even more eloquently about it than I can, because he was a part of that effort with the Baker administration. And it was an all hands on deck approach of government, mental health, physical health, social services, targeting public safety, targeting the 6 beginning, but added 3 biggest hotspots in the county for public safety challenges. And that's a big part of why we decreased crime by 58% during that time. We need to bring that strategy back and focus on those areas that are most in need, not just reactively, but also proactively.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Hawkins, would you please answer that question? Do you need me to repeat it?
No, thank you, Ms. Wiggins. May I begin?
Yes, please.
Yes. Right now, with Councilmember Franklin and I, he spoke on it. You can look at our track record. This year, we're putting $5 million in the budget for 2 new police recruit classes. We put money in for 5 positions for forensic scientists, 2 crime scene investigators. We got to deal with the state law that came out of the state requirement to deal with the police accountability commission, or we got to deal with the police accountability board. So we're taking our roles as council members to deal with some of these things. And as Mr. Laro said, 70% of the individuals who get locked up in Prince George's County daily are under the influence of alcohol. Over 40% have some kind of psychotic drug in their system. So we're working from a mental health perspective as well. We're trying to give the services to help our citizens, but at the same time, we're holding individuals accountable for their criminal activities while also offering alternatives before those who may participate in criminal activity get engaged. So thank you for the question, and I'm honored to have had that opportunity to share my response.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. White, you're up next. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, ma'am. We'll get on to it. Like I said, our current, from the previous budget, our police are missing $23 million, like I said, and they're trying to do more with less. So they need every resource possible to get the job done. And just like last year, there were 396 carjackings done in Prince George's County. And right now that we're on a pace to break those records. Our police need every resource possible. And that is like, I would give them, if I'm elected, I would work out a plan where we bring in institute license plate cameras. These plans have worked in Baltimore and they've worked in Chicago. And these cameras cost $2,500. If we bring 10, that's a $25,000 investment that could possibly decrease these carjackings in this area. So my goal, if elected, is to give the police every resource they need to get the job done. Right now, they don't have the tools to get the job done. They're stretched thin, and they need every tool possible to complete their mission. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see that we have Mr. Iyumbo back with us. So we're going to just keep moving along to the next question. The next question is, what efforts would you put into redevelopment, revenue creation, and smart growth for the county? And we will answer that question in the same order. So Mr. Ilara, would you please?
Ms. Wiggins, thank you for the question. It's a good question. So what frustrates me about the resources or the lack thereof that we have in the county, we're talking about, let's say, for example, Ms. Wiggins, a friend or a family visits you in the county. They say, hey, take me to a nice restaurant. A lot of times you have to go to Anne Arundel County, DC, Virginia for these type of amenities. Why don't we have these same nice restaurants that folks like to frequent here in Prince George's County? That makes no sense to me. And we're talking about, breaking up revenue, folks, our money is not being circulated within the county. We're losing revenue. And one way to maintain revenue, or at least increase it, is make sure that our money circulates. One way to do that is make sure we give incentives to these other businesses, bring them here in the county, okay? And then invest in our businesses that we do have in the county here. So, and again, I'm an attorney. I'm not a politician. So when I'm out on the campaign trail speaking to businesses, they tell me there's a lot of loops that they have declined just to operate in the county. There's inconsistencies with respect to the different resources that they have. For example, you have inspectors that come in and inspect the business. One inspector might have one requirement and then another have another requirement. It creates an issue and inconsistency. So that creates a problem for the business. And, we don't have a situation where we're investing in our small business, because what we have, if we're not investing in our small business, if we have a situation where they will either take their business elsewhere in Anne Arundel County or elsewhere, or they may go out of business. So if we invest in our small business in our businesses, then we have a situation where they're able to employ residents in the county. Our money stays here. So and as far as development, again, we have to listen to the constituents, listen to the people. We shouldn't, as county councils members, make decisions that we think or we believe that are in the people's best interest. They have a voice. In the true democracy, the people have the power, not the politicians. So we have to speak to the constituents, speak to the members, to the representatives of the county, ask them, what is it that you want? And then listen, and then bring those resources here. And I think that's one way to make sure that resources remain there and revenue builds, and we make a better Prince George's County.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Franklin, I'm going to repeat this question for you.
Sure.
What efforts would you put into redevelopment, revenue creation, and smart growth for the county?
Thank you for the question. It'll take a lot more than 1 minute for me to fully answer it, but I'm going to give it a try. Prince George's County is the best place to invest in the best region in America. And we've done a lot over the last decade to make Prince George's County more of an economic destination, whether you're talking about MGM National Harbor, whether you're talking about the town square at Suitland, whether you're talking the headquarters of the Citizenship and Immigration Service that's now in Branch Avenue, whether you're talking about the Discovery District near the University of Maryland, Woodmore Town Center, New Carrollton, University Town Center. We can go on and on and on. We made a lot of progress, but I know we have a long way to go to get to the kind of amenities and the kind of economic development we need. We need automatic incentives for TOD, development around transit stations, to create high density, walkable, mixed use development at every one of our 15 metro stations. I appreciate Mr. Lear's comments. My Council Chair Calvin Hawkins and I are about to propose an equity and inclusion agenda for our local business community to focus on small business growth and capital funds for our businesses here in Prince George's County, as well as increasing the requirements around utilizing those businesses in county contracting. So those dollars do circulate here. There are a lot of things that I'd love to talk to you about in this topic that we can talk about. But in 60 seconds, I would say that's the big picture. We're the place to be when it comes to this region. We have to create the right market incentives to drive the economy there.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, Ms. Wiggins. And when in terms of economic development, I failed to mention when I spoke about how we will deal with the crime issues, and Mr. White referenced it, we put $1.5 million in this budget, Mr. White, to deal with license plate readers and other technology to support crime fighting. So thank you for bringing that up. And if you look at what we're doing on the Blue Line corridor when it comes to development, the $400 million we are doing in Central Avenue and on up into Largo, from Southern Avenue and East Capitol on up, older communities, more senior communities. So we're not just talking about bringing economic development there for just restaurants and retail, but transforming some of those residential areas in downtown Largo to bring the kind of amenities that we all want to see. But it requires vision of a county executive and a county council working with our state and federal partners. And if you all have an opportunity to go on the county website, you can see some of the initiatives that are in place. And we think we're on the right track in meeting the concerns and needs of the different amenities that you're asking about in that one question. So I'm confident that the citizens will be pleased in the next couple of years of the economic development that will occur based on their concerns. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Mr. White?
Thank you. Like I said, because of the pandemic, we lost a lot of revenue from our entertainment and other venues. But if we bring data centers into our community, that's the quickest and best way to bring into more revenue for the county. Loudoun County is our neighbor to the south. 70% of the internet traffic goes through Loudoun County, and just in 22 alone, they were able to get $500 million in revenue. If Prince George's County can just take 10% of that, that can do a lot for our schools, our police, our roads, and infrastructure. So our goal, and so if I'm elected, my goal is to push data centers and other green initiatives to promote our county. With the data center, this could be up and running in 6 months, opposed to building, amphitheaters and other things. That's going to take a while. Data centers can be up and running, and that money comes every 1st and the 15th. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, the era of COVID has been challenging for all of us, and it has taken a toll, and we have had to seek help. The next question is a direct target of that. What measures would you take to ensure that the residents of Prince George's County get the mental services they need? Mr. Illawarra, would you please elaborate? Can you hear me? Okay, I think we're having some problems.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Okay, great. There you go. What measures would you take to ensure that residents get the mental health services they need?
Oh, well, I think I'll piggyback on what I indicated earlier, part of my initiative and things that I would like to see if elected as a county council at large member is because, like we mentioned earlier, that there is a mental health crisis nationwide as well as in the county. Well, before I even answer that question, let me tell you something, Ms. Wiggins. Part of what I want to do in terms of mental health initiative is I want to make sure that we have a mandatory mental health class in our public school systems in conjunction with counseling. What that will do is you'll have a situation where the students are taught how to deal with stress, deal with trauma, and then you'll have a situation where you don't have so much delinquency in the public school system. Because with delinquency, you have what? Destruction of property. You have to employ more police officers in the school system. And then dealing with that issue, the students know how to deal with how to handle stress and have better ways to deal with their problems. You'll have less delinquency, less destruction of property, less vandalism, and less police in these schools. Then you'll have a situation where that's increased revenue. Maybe we could raise teachers' pay and give teachers tax incentives and save those revenues. Of course, the money's there, but that's one way to increase it. And as I indicated earlier, I want to have offer teachers, not teachers, but the residents free mental health assessments. Okay, because I think the money isn't in the budget, and give them free assessments and free treatments as well. Because then that way it would have the resources there, and we can make sure that they are diagnosed accordingly and effectively. So that way we don't have a situation where folks are walking around undiagnosed and then things are happening, and then we have to ask ourselves, well, why is crime continuing to increase, and why do we have these different issues going on?
Thank you, Mr. Franklin. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties. Yes, please.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. What measures would you take to ensure that residents get the mental services they need?
Thank you for the question. First, I want to tell you a couple of things that Council Chair Hawkins, along with the County Executive Officer Brooks, have been working on. As you know, Doctors Hospital is building a new behavioral health center at Doctors Hospital, now Luminous, that the county funded. So to respond to this very need, we do not have enough inpatient mental health beds in Prince George's County, and quite frankly, anywhere in the state of Maryland. And so that facility will be open soon, and that will serve the residents of Prince George's County who have mental health challenges. Southern Maryland Hospital, again, with assistance from the federal government, is now opening a new behavioral health clinic as well. And that's also going to provide more inpatient beds for mental health here in the county. We have to provide the services that our residents with mental health challenges need most. Mental health is oftentimes more complicated to treat than physical health issues, and it's very difficult sometimes to get those who are having mental health challenges to those services. So first, we have to make sure, one, that we have the services here, and number two, we have to take the services to the community. The great thing about the blueprint for Maryland's schools, which is the Kirwan Commission's plan around in reinvesting in our particularly most challenging schools, is it provides funding for wraparound mental health services in our public schools. That's an approach that we need to take and broaden to all of our schools, particularly those high poverty schools in the county. And that way, we're not just talking, again, reactively, once someone has a big mental health challenge and needs to be put into an institution, but we're actually dealing with it proactively when our young people first start to exhibit mental health challenges. So those are some of the things, and there are many other aspects to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Mr. Hawkins.
Yes, ma'am.
Please respond to the question.
Yes, ma'am. I'll do just that. What we learned, as you asked in your question, from COVID-19, how inefficient, ineffective, and ill-prepared we were to deal with mental health issues in the country, but particularly in Prince George's County. As a consequence, working with the county executive, my colleagues, Mel Franklin and others, along with our federal and state officials, we are now directing resources to the hospitals that Councilmember at Large Franklin referenced, but also We're funding opportunities to bring more community doctors, whether it's psychologists, psychiatrists, to work in our underserved and underrepresented communities, because that's really the challenge. We have insurance that we can get, health insurance that may allow us to go get the mental health we may need. But in those underserved and underrepresented communities, that's not the case. So in the months to come, you all will see Prince George's County working and rolling out programs through our health officer and his team to really address those concerns that you asked in your question. And I'm committed, along with Councilmember Franklin and the County Council, to ensure that that becomes a reality.
Thank you. Mr. White?
I'll be brief. Like I said, we need to invest more towards public health and safety initiatives, and our outreach needs to be better to reach our residents. During the pandemic, I'm going to just give props to Mr. Hawkins and Mr. Franklin. Prince George's County led the way in the state of Maryland of fighting COVID and getting and making our residents healthy and keeping us safe. But like I said, the outreach could be better through town halls like this and better engagement by our councilmen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We are moving on to our last question. The council supports full funding of the county's public schools, including operational formula and construction spending. As a council member, what can you do to improve our school system, and how would you monitor and assess the use of these funds? Mr. Ilara, would you please elaborate?
Yes. So, Ms. Wiggins, our public school systems have been and continue to be underperforming for a long time. That's an issue. That's questionable in the county, and I think that's one of the things that the constituents, as well as me as a concerned citizen, is discontent with and displeased with. We have Goddard Aerospace Center here in Greenbelt, Maryland. We have NASA in Prince George's County. And if you look around the actual cell, how many schools, public school systems, are in partnership with NASA? And so where we have a situation where we can have folks, graduate in the county with engineering degrees and the sciences and things of that nature. Not so many. I want to, as the business officer of the East Coast chapter of the Tuskegee Airmen, we have a robust youth and aviation program where we teach young children how to fly airplanes and they're able to obtain their pilot license as well. We're talking about teenagers. So I want to join those two entities together with NASA to have these type of programs within our public school system. What we also need is, and I mentioned this earlier, we have to increase teachers' pay, because teachers are key and valuable. Teachers are going elsewhere in DC, in Orange County, different counties that pay them more. And we're losing our valuable teachers. So we don't have these effective teachers to teach our students. So that's the issue. We have to increase teachers' pay. We need more boys and girls clubs in our public school system. DC's doing an outstanding job. They have boys and girls clubs throughout their school system, and they're not simply just teaching their students how to do homework. They are taking these students out to universities to teach them these life tools that are needed, and to guarantee success. Because our students, they have to ensure that they have a vision and have ideas. Because without ideas and the vision, then there is no room to learn. They're not gonna want. They don't want to learn. Okay, so you have these boys and girls clubs in the school system that teach them, career building, trainings and financial literacy. These type of things are necessary. And in terms of the public school system, we have to improve these old brick buildings throughout the Prince George's County. We have these old old schools. We have to improve them, and then we have to build more schools, because experts has shown that smaller classrooms work. And one would have smaller classrooms, build more schools. So we have to improve. And then we also, one thing that I like that we have in our universities, and I would like to see in the public school systems, is the study abroad program. That builds perspective and opens culture. And imagine that we have that in our public school system. That would get, promote learning for the students. And then we need that. So these are the key things that I would like to see. And I think that, of course, obviously as a county council member, I understand that decisions are not made unilaterally. We have to, have cooperation and collaboration with, the other county council members as well as the school board, because, we fund the school systems, we have a say, so we want to make sure that these things are implemented, and that's key. And in terms of the funds, we have to, proper allocation of the funds. We have to, make sure that, reporting is necessary, is there to make sure the funds are being allocated effectively as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Franklin, would you respond?
Sure, and thank you for the question. As a public school dad, I'm very, the success of the public schools is personal. I definitely have some deep skin in the game. I think we have to do several things. Obviously, it's not going to fit in 60 seconds, but let me give it a shot. First, we have to continue to invest. We need to fully fund the Kerwin's Blueprint for Maryland's future, which is an unprecedented strategy for an all hands on deck kind of funding for every aspect of the public schools, from better teacher salaries, more innovative career-oriented programs, as well as health and human service wraparound supports. I think we've got to continue to do what Councilman Chair Hawkins and I did with funding those 6 unprecedented 6 middle schools going to be built in 3 years. Never happened before in Prince George's County's history. The next round will be up to 12 schools, and it'll be built in the next 4 years. It'll be a combination of elementary and middle schools. We have to continue to find innovative ways to invest in our school system. We also need reform. I think we need to double in the next 5 years the number of our specialty programs, career programs, as well as charter schools. Give people more great choices to stay in the public schools and not choose private school. That's critical. And so there's so many others. Absolutely, we should pay teachers more. We should get the state to give us authority to do a teacher's tax credit for teachers that teach in our most challenging school environments and get nationally board certified. There's so much we can do. There's so many great things that are happening. I don't want people to think that we don't have great programs within our public schools. We do, but we have a long way to go in a lot of parts of the county, particularly parts of the county that have the highest poverty needs. And we have to keep reinvesting and refocusing on it.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Hawkins, would you like for me to repeat the question?
I would.
Okay. So the council supports full funding of the county's public schools, including operational, formula, and construction spending. As a council member, what can you do to improve our school system, and how would you monitor and assess the use of these funds?
Thank you. Through what we have already done, the time it takes to construct a school in the state of Maryland is just too long. However, this council, working with the county executive and other state officials, came up with an innovative approach of the public-private partnership. Buildings, we are building 9 schools this year, but 6 of them under the public-private partnership. As Councilmember Franklin said, we're getting ready to build 6 more. Innovative, courageous leadership to deal with the issues of these old schools. Prince George's County have the oldest schools in the state of Maryland. And all I want our citizens to understand when they ask, well, why did they go public-private partnership? Because we want our kids to have an opportunity to learn in the most up-to-date, with the highest level of technology that they could have in advancing their understanding of education and becoming productive citizens. I believe working with our council, county exec, state and federal officials, and that outstanding CEO we have in Monica Golson over our public school system, the best is yet to come in our public schools. Yes, we have challenges, but we are at a point in our juncture in the public school system where we have the right leader and the right support base around her to meet some of the needs that the council members spoke about, and even some of my other co-colleagues or co-candidates have raised. But we are going to get there. The best is yet to come. As a public school graduate from Oxon Hill High School, I'm grateful to be a part of the transformation of our public school system. Ms. Wiggins, before you tell me my time is up, thank you for the question.
You're welcome. Mr. Wright, would you please respond?
Okay, first, if I'm elected, I will vote to ensure that capital projects budgets will go towards major projects such as construction of new school buildings and renovation of older buildings. Next, I'm not a fan of the P3 bundle design that has been created. The total cost of that project was $1.23 billion. Based on the contract, that's $453 million for 6 schools. That's $75 million per school. The average national median cost for a school combined is $42.8 million, and the maintenance is $740 million over 30 years. That's a lot of money. And like I said, I'm not a fan of it. The company that you did this deal with is Canadian-based company. It's not an American-based company. Like I said, if I'm elected, we need to bring back the impact fees where the developers pay for these schools and infrastructure projects. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I would like to thank all of you all for your passionate responses this afternoon. We are now going to move into closing remarks. Each of you will have 2 minutes to give your closing statements, and we're going to go in the same order. So, Mr. Elira, would you please?
I appreciate you, Ms. Wiggins. I want to thank you and thank Reed Temple again for the opportunity to be here today. I'm honored, quite frankly, although my positions along with the County Council, Hawkins and Mr. Franken, we may defer in our positions. I'm honored to be in this forum with them. I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Hawkins. He seemed like a good guy. He has a pleasant personality. We had a good interaction, and so I think they both are honorable men. But as a concerned citizen and just speaking to the other concerned residents in Prince George's County, they're discontent. We do not feel like we have a voice in the county council because, as it stands, decisions are being made and we're not bringing into the forefront. When these decisions are being made, we're not being called and being part of the process. And I tell you, the redistricting issue is one of the examples where things are being done, and then we find out later, these are things are not in our best interest. So we have to have county council members in office that, one, represents the people, because in a true democracy, the people have the power, not the other way around. And then politicians tend to forget that. I'm not a politician. So again, because I'm concerned, I look around the county, I'm resolved. Things are not. We can do better, and I think Mr. Hawkins and Mr. Franklin are doing a good job. But again, they can do better. We can do better. We need folks in office that are motivated, that are have ideas that are rejuvenated, fresh ideas, and to make sure that these things that we need to make a better Prince George County is there. And I am that candidate. I'm genuine about the things that I want to do. As a concerned citizen, we want to employ these things to ensure we make a better Prince George County. I would love to serve the community. I would love to serve this Prince George County where I reside and I enjoy. This is a wonderful county, a wonderful state of Maryland, a wonderful county. And we have to treat the county like we treat our home. We have to invest in it. And folks can follow my campaign and assist and help me build a better Prince George County. You can follow me and social media at vote_Sam Elira. That's vote_Sam Elira. www.electsamuelelira.com. Volunteer to canvass with me, and I'll leave you with this quote. Plato said in the Republic, "The price good men pay for indifference to public life is to be ruled by inferior men." So we have to be concerned citizens. We cannot be indifferent to the issues in Prince George County. We have to be, to raise these issues. And then
thank you, Mr. Elira. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Franklin, would you please provide your closing statements?
Sure. And again, thank you, First Lady Whitlock, Pastor Whitlock, the Reed Temple family, all of the organizations that are involved in this event, and my fellow candidates, especially my fellow colleague and team member, Council Chair Hawkins. It's been an honor to be with you. We're in a unique moment where we're still in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are. Many of our small minority businesses were hit hard. Many of our residents were hit hard. And so we are in a moment of recovery, a moment of comeback, if you will. And we have to meet this moment. And quite frankly, it is from experience with a previous economic crisis with the Great Recession that I believe that I'm equipped, along with Council Chair Hawkins, to meet this moment. We need a real recovery plan. We need to reinvest in our small and minority businesses. We need to reinvest and invest in uplifting our public schools and providing those wraparound supports so our young people can thrive and can make up a lot of that learning loss. I know my son has quite a bit of learning loss from just the impact of the pandemic and not being in the classroom every day. And there's so many kids like him and in that boat. And we have to pour into them and help them catch up and make up for a lot of that learning loss. Our seniors and veterans still have big challenges. Right now, Council Chair Hawkins and I, along with Councilmember Burrows and others, have proposed a seniors tax credit that will give seniors who've been in their home at least 5 years a 5-year tax credit at $2,500 per year. We recognize the challenges being a senior who's lived their lives and helped build this county, the challenges in staying in your home and the costs of, that are associated with that. And so we're gonna do something about that, and we're gonna meet this moment. Prince George's County is gonna come back. We're gonna be better than we were before when we were leading the state in job creation. We're going to be far better than that in the future. So I look forward to the opportunity if voters elect to reelect me as council member at large, along with my colleague, Council Chair Calvin Hawkins. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Hawkins, would you please give your closing statement?
Thank you, Ms. Wiggins, and thank you for being an outstanding moderator. All I want to share with those who are listening and looking at this very important discussion about our future. I came in office expecting to do a lot of significant things. I believe I have, along with my colleagues, and I must say publicly thanks to Councilmember Franklin for his leadership and his mentorship as a new council member arriving on the county council. Served 2 years as chair in the midst of a pandemic, COVID-19. We have made record strides in funding for veterans that you all asked about earlier, the highest budget they have had. We've dealt with senior issues, as Councilmember Franklin referenced. We're dealing with economic development while helping our youth through their education and recreation and making sure that Prince George's County will be better than we found it. My friends, I ask you for an opportunity to return to serving for another 4 years as one of your council members at large, and just check the record. Check the record. All the meetings are public. The law requires that we have public meetings. We can't do anything in secret because the law doesn't allow us. But what I will tell you is, if you want two individuals who have a track record of serving you, check out Councilmember Franklin and Councilmember Hawkins. And I believe, in the most humble way I can say, that you will end up supporting us for another term. And thank you for this opportunity again, Ms. Wiggins.
Thank you. Mr. White, your closing statement, please.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone, even my opponents that showed up. Reed Temple, thank you for everything. Thank you for even considering me and inviting me. With that being said, keeping our families safe and our neighborhood safe is my top priority. I'm grateful for the tremendous work that Prince George's County Police does, and we'll fight to provide them with every resource to keep keeping us safe. Next, I recognize just how essential it is for our children to have a quality education, together with an after-school programs and sports and other initiatives. That is why we'll work to safeguard the quality of our local public schools and increase support for our youth programs. That keeps kids out of trouble and help them thrive. Also, our local businesses are a strength of our economic growth. We must guarantee that they have the assistance they need to be successful and grow. I just want to be the solution to your problem. If there's a pothole that needs to be fixed, I want to help you get it fixed. If there's a street light that needs to be replaced, I want to help you get it replaced. In the wintertime, if your sidewalk needs to be shoveled, I want to help you shovel your sidewalk. That is why I'm running, because I care. And like I said, in July, when it's time to vote, I hope you vote for me, and I hope I earned your vote today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This concludes our forum for County Council at Large. I would like to thank our candidates for their participation in this afternoon and for their willingness to run for this important office. I wish you all luck. Remember, our voices matter. Please vote. We will now take a short break while we prepare for our second session, County Executive Forum. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We are so excited about the forum that you will be participating in and listening, and hopefully you'll get some good information that you can share with your community and your family. I have the great pleasure and honor to introduce Ebony McMorris, our moderator for this afternoon. And Ebony McMorris is an award-winning journalist, having a combined career in radio and TV for over 20 years. Her most recently been named the National News Correspondent for Reach Media, a subsidiary of Radio One. Now, she also works as a contributor to the Al Sharpton Show on WOL, just 1450, and Sirius XM Radio. Before her long track in radio, she spent 7 years at NBC Channel 4 in Washington, D.C. as an assignment editor and later as an assistant planning manager. Now, Ms. McMorris has produced and conducted interviews with high-ranking political officials and newsmakers for NBC News, Nightly News, Today Show, and NBC News Channel. Now, Ms. McMorris recently took a position with the American Urban Radio Network as its White House news correspondent, as well as delivering contents for its multiple level news platforms. Now, Ebony is a native of Washington, D.C., and a University of South Carolina alumni. Her passion is mentoring young adults by teaching community empowerment and media education. We are excited to have this wonderful person join us. She is a fantastic supporter of all of our community programs, and we want to thank her for being the moderator for this afternoon. So take it away, Ebony.
Thank you so much, Linda, for that introduction. I was raised in the church, so let me just say I know protocol. So let me just say I want to thank Reed Temple AME Church and also give glory and honor to God that we can be here to participate in this. I also want to recognize James A. Parker Lay Organization. What a beautiful performance by the dance ministry at Reed Temple. Let me first also say welcome to the 2022 NAACP Prince George's County Chapter County Exec Forum. I'm honored to be the moderator for this. One of the greatest services that residents can have is to provide being a public servant to its residents, and one of the greatest responsibilities is electing those who will represent us all. With that, I want to go over some of the housekeeping rules, and then I will introduce some of the candidates. Please listen. The rules are as follows. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes for their opening statement. After the opening statement, I will ask each candidate 4 questions. All of the candidates will be asked the same question. They have 1 minute to respond. If you see my face pop back up, that means that you're going over your time. And each candidate will be given 2 minutes for their closing statements. Thank you. All right, we will begin. I would like each candidate to they have 2 minutes for their opening statement, but I will also ask a question in addition to that, so you have an extra minute for that. The first question is, what metrics would you use to uphold exemplary standards for the PGC department? Please answer that after your 2-minute opening statement. I'm going to start with Mr. Billy Bridges.
Thank you so much, Mr. Morris, and I thank you, Reed Temple family, for the invitation today. My name is Billy Bridges, and I am a second-time candidate for this office. I ran again in 2018, and I saw, because of some of the failures and the things that we were warned about, I need to come back and do this again to make sure that everyone understands. I am an Air Force veteran and unapologetically a Christian, a father of 2 daughters, a 24-year employee of the Prince George's County Public Schools, an Air Force veteran. I have training in law enforcement and auditing and accounting. I have a undergraduate degree in political science, graduate degrees in public administration with government service, emergency management, and pastoral counseling. I consider myself to be a political scientist and not a politician. I believe in solutions and not excuses. And I think that now it's time for me to uplift our family in Prince George's County to a position where we are no longer, I would say, sharecroppers and that we are more in line of being owners, taking owners of our county. With that in mind, some of my major policies are making sure that we are now making our citizens investors, where they can actually, bring their monies together, okay, to do certain projects, as opposed to waiting for the developers to do everything for us. That includes housing, recycling, and any other retail situations we might want to take part in. That way we can create generational wealth, okay, and indeed have additional dividends coming back for themselves and for their families, and also transforming our police department from police department into public service, and also making sure our school system is totally reorganized so that we deliver the kind of education for our students that they deserve. In addition to that, we'll make sure that in the line of public safety, that our citizens are feeling secure in their environments, and they also are engaged in our communities. And by doing that, we can make sure that we have a top-notch law enforcement department, and make sure that we have a top-notch neighborhood and community engagement by all of our citizens. And to uplift all of our citizens, I think we need to make sure that they understand there's going to be a total accountability in government, and therefore having a I'm sorry, Office of Inspector General. I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Abby.
Thank you for that. Next, Sherman Hardy, please provide your opening statement, and also the question: what metrics would you use to uphold exemplary standards for the PGC departments?
Yes, greetings. I am Sherman Hardy, and I am going to be your next county executive. Thank you, Reed Temple, for having me on, and greetings to everyone who is watching this live, because I appreciate each and every one of you for coming, because this is very important in our livelihood as a state. Just to brag a little bit about myself, I am a natural leader, a creative, and an independent thinker. I've been called a humble individual with great ambition for Prince George's County. I am a veteran. I am an actual emergency manager. I worked at FEMA. I have many years of law enforcement experience, and I have also worked in federal agencies within procurement and budgeting. I am a business owner and a homeowner here in Prince George's County. I was a secretary for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, board of director for Prince George's County Association of Realtors, and I also was a member of the Education Roundtable and the Prince George's County Young Democrats. I have done tons of work here in this county already through the SCLC, which led my opponent to review the use of force by establishing the Police Reform Task Force. And later I petitioned to end the discrimination lawsuit against PGPD. I've advocated for environmental injustices, for food apartheid. I've also protested against racism in Prince George's County, and assisted with helping creating the county's 10-year housing plan. I'm running because I want to bring back true trust and transparency to government, and in my departments and in my administration, I'm going to make sure that I use precision and innovation to assist our county residents, and also create mechanisms to hold ourselves accountable. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. I heard your intro. You was trying to call that into existence. I am. Okay. Our next candidate, Ms. Tanya Sweat, please give your opening statement, and also what metrics would you use to uphold exemplary standards for the PGC department?
Good afternoon to the pastoral care team of Reed Temple AME Church, the lay organization, and the membership. I want to say thank you for inviting me. I hail from the 7th Episcopal District, and the lay organization gave me the opportunity to begin my public speaking career, if you will, when I was a young teenager. So I feel like I'm coming full circle. I am Tanya Sweat, and I'm running to be your next county executive. I bring to the table years of leadership in the federal government, and I've also served in the United States Air Force. My most recent professional career led me to be a manager in the United States government, managing and overseeing a nationwide program, managing funds, and a team that examined financial institutions for our nation. I'm running because I want to improve things for our children, I want to improve things for our community, and I want to do it with competence. And that leads me to answer the question that's already been raised for the day. When you ask what metrics would I use to uphold the exemplary standards for our department, it depends upon the department. But what I will tell you is that metric will not include or involve the amount of money being spent. I believe the metric should be quantifiable and qualitative, meaning we will measure how many citizens we assist with their needs and how well we do that by getting feedback from Prince Georgians. We need to know what we're doing well and what we aren't doing well. I am here to listen, and I will listen to the citizens of this county to make sure everyone's needs are met.
Thank you so much for that, Ms. Sweat. Next question. Post-COVID, there have been challenges in our school system. As the county exec, what improvements will you implement when it comes to fully funding of the county's public schools, and how would you monitor and assess the use of these funds? Again, I'm going to begin with Mr. Bridges.
Thank you so much. This is something that has bothered me for the longest, because we went to initially school-based budgeting and student-based budgeting. That's all a farce, okay? We need to make sure that we fund each school based on their needs. And in addition, we need to have a consistent plan in place. With a consistent plan, everyone's doing the same thing. We're not doing 208 different things at 208 different schools. So therefore, with funding, we need to be consistent across the board. And we need to take leadership directly from the schools and make sure it's centralized. Okay, so we know that we're all doing the same things. And with the funding for the COVID and everything else, we need to make sure, as I was trying to mention at the end of that first comment, that having an office of inspector general that covers the whole county. For any time there's a situation where a citizen has a complaint, someone in the department has a complaint, if in the schools, they can make that call to the inspector general, and we can step in and take a look at what's wrong. And for those that have violated the law, we will remove them and make sure they're prosecuted.
Thank you. Mr. Hardy, do you need me to repeat that question?
Please.
Post-COVID, there have been challenges in our school system. As the county exec, what improvements will you implement when it comes to fully funding the county's public schools, and how would you monitor and assess the use of these funds?
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. I just want to say we give COVID too much credit, for some things. And quite frankly, it has been turmoil and problems going on with the school system way long before COVID. And COVID was just something that exasperated it and showed, pretty much the entire county what the issues were. But what I have done, I have also, when I announced last year, I said that I wanted to create an Office of Inspector General to investigate fraud, waste, and abuse, but I also want to do desk audits and also make sure that we are being fiscally responsible. That is part of my campaign, but also creating an open government portal where we will be able to follow our budget line by line to see what we're taking in and what we're spending. I think those are some very crucial steps in order to start with some transparency and accountability. But most importantly, we already passed mechanisms within the blueprint for our schools. The only thing we need to do is add some teeth to it and make sure that we are actually enforcing, whatever is on the books. And that's my goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. Ms. Sweat, I'll repeat the question. Post-COVID, there have been challenges in our school system. As a county executive, what improvements will you implement when it comes to fully funding the county's public schools, and how will you monitor and assess the use of these funds?
Yes, thank you. As a mother of a PGCPS graduate and a current Prince George's County Public School student, a fourth grader, there is much work to be done. And I have to say, I agree with Mr. Hardy. COVID didn't start the problem. It magnified the problem. It has exacerbated the problem. The blueprint, which I advocated for when I was on the state PTA, has caused the state of Maryland to invest $3.8 billion, more dollars, into our public school system statewide. One of the things I intend to do is ensure that the money that comes to Prince George's County because of the blueprint goes directly to our classrooms to give our teachers the increased salary that they've been promised and still have not gotten since the Great Recession, to reduce our teacher-to-student ratio, or student-to-teacher ratio, to make sure that we can social distance and keep our children and our educators healthy. And I'm also going to advocate at both the state and federal levels to ensure we get the funds necessary to build new schools and renovate the ones that can be renovated and saved.
Thank you for that, Ms. Sweat. Next question. What would you do, Mr. Bridges, to bring more affordable housing to Prince George's County?
Oh, that's a great one. And it goes back to my investment projects, okay, for citizens to do the generational wealth, allowing citizens to pool their monies together to actually get involved in these development projects for low to moderate income housing. That in turn allows them over the course of that loan to receive dividends from those mortgage payments. And therefore, we don't have to work for the developers to do everything for us, because the developers, they're going to do what they need to do, and they're going to set the prices as they assume that they think it needs to be set. So therefore, having our citizens actually taking charge of their own futures like that, they will be able to build, and the county can in turn, if we have available land, donate some of that land to that project. Okay, so the citizens can again be fully invested and create that generational wealth we've been talking about.
Thank you for that. Mr. Hardy, what would you do to bring more affordable housing to Prince George's County?
Yes, I can tell you some things that I've already done that to bring affordable housing to Prince George's County. I just completed my 4th year on the Housing Opportunity for All Committee, where we got together a plan that said that we needed to invest $20 million into affordable housing to make sure that, you know, our kids, our scholars, and our seniors, and whoever can afford to live here. We also laid the paperwork to be able to get the land banking within Prince George's County to preserve affordable housing, and also a few other mechanisms. But what I'm going to continue to do as your county executive is push forward to allow accessory dwelling units and tiny homes, but also more importantly, invest in universal design to make sure that, you know, we can age in place, but also to ensure that we can have affordable housing. My goal is to also lower property taxes. That way we can ensure that affordable housing is actually taking place, and also invest in different programs that, you know, outside of paying down your closing costs and down payment assistance, but move over to assisting with some of the principal, because we understand that the housing prices are becoming astronomical, and it's not comparative with the wages. Everything's going up but the salary. So those are some things that I actually want to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hardy. Ms. Sweat, what would you do to bring more affordable housing to Prince George's County?
First and foremost, I would enforce the laws that are already on the books. Prince George's County and the state of Maryland have invested taxpayer dollars into communities for the purpose of creating affordable housing. I currently represent clients who are not getting the benefit of those investments because the county and the state are not exercising the necessary oversight to ensure that the landlords are doing what they're supposed to do. That's step one. Ensuring landlords do what they're supposed to do, because they're getting federal and state credits, tax credits, for providing affordable housing. Additionally, we're building a lot of residential housing in the county. And for any multifamily unit or dwelling that is approved to be built, I will require, as allowed under federal law, a certain percentage of that housing be deemed affordable housing, or it can't be built. So we're going to put contracts in place, and we'll make sure that developers and builders follow the laws that are already on the books. We have to enforce them.
Thank you, Ms. Sweat. Next question. What are your plans, Mr. Bridges, for smart growth in the county, and who will be your allies?
Smart growth? Once again, everything I have in place is called the new Prince George's County Plan. It's not like a political platform or anything. And within that plan, we talk about the citizens being involved and having partners for smart growth. Of course, we're going to bring in our developers. They're not my best allies, but I bring those in. Environmentalists bring in also, because we need to understand that we're building housing and we're building any projects that we're involved in is going to be one that's going to be beneficial and safe for all of our citizens. And so therefore, having the citizens panels as well as involved. I know we always have hearings about those kind of things, but we need to make sure that hearing, and I want to create a new department of urban planning, okay, that actually has a plan in place, okay, of what we really need. And we're not going to have things that are being built that don't need to be built in other areas. And we're not going to uproot people out there in neighborhoods to get certain things done. So just making sure that we have a consistent plan across the county and everybody understands that it's going to be beneficial for everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. What are your plans, Mr. Hardy, for smart growth in the county, and who will be your allies? I can't hear you. Start all over.
I wanted to say that my goal in creating the smart city or the smart development, economic development, is first of all is a ambitious goal. I want to make sure that Prince George's County is the first smart county in the United States of America, so that we can use data, tech, and all of our resources and conversion together so that they talk and tell us what our problems are going on in the county. But also I want to make sure that we do infill development. We build from within and then grow outward, because we have a lot of infrastructure, as I mentioned earlier, that's crumbling that we need to repair. We can definitely protect and save our environment by doing this, and also reduce our watershed. So we first, and as far as my partners, I always have this thing that says that if you're going to legislate and advocate on behalf of the people, you have to make sure that those people are in the room as well, to have a voice in those conversations and dialogue. So everybody is welcome. Everybody can come and see what it is that we're trying to do to bring about this smart economic development in the smart county that I'm trying to do. And definitely they should visit my website at www.hardyforpg.com to view the rest of my insight on that.
Thank you, Mr. Hardy. What are your plans, Ms. Sweat, for smart growth in the county, and who would be your allies?
Thank you for that question. We have suffered in Prince George's County for too long from not having smart growth. First and foremost, I'm going to build an alliance with our county council, because I need them to go back to allowing us to charge the surcharge on developers who build in Prince George's County. The waiver has been in place too long, and developers are not investing in our infrastructure, but they're building homes and earning profits. The next thing that I will do is use the cadre of engineers and builders and trades workers in the county, because we have several, to help us sit down and plan what we need to do to ensure our residents have the infrastructure in place to support the residences that are already here. We're building more houses, but we're not taking care of the infrastructure. And we must do that for our citizens.
Thank you so much for that answer. Next question, and this is actually our last question. What improvements do you believe should be high priorities in the county, Mr. Bridges?
First and foremost, I'm going to say, because of our supposedly spike in crime, we have to deal with community safety. And thereafter, we're going to have to deal with the economy, okay? Because again, I want the citizens to get in place where they are actually taking charge of their futures. And that's the only way it's going to happen. We can depend on corporations coming in here to do certain things for us, but at the end of the day, excuse me, they're going to have to take charge of their own futures. And next would be our school system. Those are the highest priorities, I think. Once we've done that, and everything is all connected. This is why our current politicians seem to think that you deal with one issue at a time. That's not it. Those of us in political science understand that it's all interconnected. There is no one you separate from the other. So when we say our priorities, they actually can have equal standing, because they have to be taken care of. And we don't have to wait until there's an issue and then we go ahead and try to address that issue, because reacting is always dangerous. We need to have a plan already in place. And that's what the Prince George's County plan does for us.
Thank you.
Thank you
for that answer. Mr. Hardy, what improvements do you believe should be high priorities in our county?
I like to say that there is no problem greater than the next. We all have our crosses to bear. Most importantly, from looking at my reference point or anyone else's reference point, that may not look the same. So I taken a holistic approach and a whole community approach with my advocacy, and understand that I need to interconnect all, through intersection, because everybody who has an issue feel like their mountain is larger than the next. So I want to make sure that I touch every segment of Prince George's County so that no one feels left behind. My goal is to make sure that my departments are operating effectively and efficiently and strike with precision. That's what I keep saying. As someone who's worked for the government for years and nonprofits and all types of organizations, I understand the structure and continuity of government and ensuring that how departments should efficiently operate. And that's what I want to bring to this county.
Thank you so much for that. Ms. Sweat, what improvements do you believe should be high priorities in our county?
I started on this journey into elected office as a PTA mom. So I'll tell anybody, my passion is children, but it's not just about the children. It's about education, because education is the linchpin to every success. Without it, we're not going to do well. We're not going to thrive. So education is my top priority, be it for the children, for young adults, or even for older adults who need professional development to transfer into new jobs, to transition into better paying jobs. So we're going to improve education in this county, and we're going to build a work development program that supports our community. Because with a growth in education, improvements in education, we can ensure that our citizens are employable and that they gain gainful employment, and that will increase the revenue in the county to take care of everything else we need to do.
Thank you for that. We're actually a little ahead of time, but I'm going to ask one more question before we get to the the closing statements. And that is, how will you ensure accountability throughout your time in office, Mr. Bridges?
First and foremost, I want to make sure that we all are on the same page. There has to be a plan where we understand what conduct is required. Even when our public safety department, I'm going to call, we need to make sure that everyone's retrained, that we don't operate in the same atmosphere we've been operating in. And the school system also, make sure it's all consistent with our training and with our expectations. Once everybody understands that, then there's accountability that comes in place. And with our Office of Inspector General, that is where we step in, because if you know what you're supposed to do, and those of us who serve in the military, we understand, once you take the oath, you accept the position, you know you're accountable for certain things. And when you don't do that, then there are consequences. And so therefore, I want to make sure they understand that there are no little I's or big U's when it comes to accountability. Everyone's on the same page. We all have a job to do. Bosses, subordinates, whatever you might be, we all have a job to do, and we need to take pride in that position, okay, and understand that we're going to hold you accountable for that also.
Mr. Hardy, how will you ensure accountability if you were to get this position?
Yes. So when I get this position, how I'm going to restore accountability to our government, because we have to realize that the executive branch is a separate entity in the three parts of our government. So I intend on being an executor. But secondly, I want to establish a Department of Consumer and Worker Protection to ensure that our community is safeguarded. And also, like I said earlier, an open portal for transparency where, it will have our budget, it'll have information about traffic stops and all sorts of information. And the county residents will be able to request the data for other things to go into that portal. But also, my Office of Inspector General that I keep talking about to investigate fraud, waste, and abuse. Those are things that I want to do for government accountability. That has been, at the foremost and front of my campaign since I announced, and, to bring back truth, trust, and transparency to government. We are flapping in the wind with that, and people are losing faith, and that the checks have been bouncing. So we need to restore some trust back in the government.
Thank you for that. And Ms. Sweat, how will you ensure accountability across your government?
To ensure accountability, I am going to exemplify something one of our past presidents said. The buck stops here with me. I will demand that the county council hold me and my administration accountable for what we're supposed to do. That means no more rubber stamps. I expect the county council to have hearings and challenge us on what we're doing in the executive branch. I expect the citizens and the voters to hold me accountable. That means I will make myself available to answer for decisions that are made in the county, whether good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. I will have an open door policy so that the citizens can get to me to hold me accountable, to question me about what's happening in the county. And I will demand that of every appointee in my administration. No more hiding behind 311 and voice messages. I will answer my emails with the help of staff. But I recognize that as the chief executive of this county, I have to stand in front of the electorate and my constituents and be willing to answer for what happens in the executive branch. And I will do that. I will never say it's not my responsibility. I would have never put my name on the ballot if I didn't want the responsibility.
Thank you for that. Now, as we conclude, I would like each candidate to have 2 minutes, give you 2 minutes for your closing statement. We'll start with you, Mr. Bridges.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for that participate today. And thank you for our host also and our gracious moderator. First and foremost, I entered this race again in 2022 because a scripture that I like says that where there's no vision, the people perish. And I found out last year that there's a certain segment of the population in this county who funds a lot of our elections who don't have a vision for those of us who are not part of that group. And so consequently, I warned all of my opponents last time that if we delay justice for any of our citizens in economics or in our education or in law enforcement, then we are denying them that justice. And Dr. King went further to say that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So consequently, we have to get our citizens to understand that they are not sharecroppers. They don't have to wait for all of the things that developers or others can do for them, or even government. We want them to be empowered. This is a new way of governing for the future, whereby there are no tax increases necessary because we're going to get those taxes from those investments that the citizens are making. And I think that if we understand that we can be more than we are right now, this Prince George's County can be what it needs to be, a model for the nation, not just an affluent Black community, but a model for the nation to see how we do law enforcement, how we do education, how we do our economy, and how we increase our generational wealth. I invite everyone to go to www.bridgesforus.org, take a look at the videos, take a look at the documents to show the plan and see if that is not something that you want as a blueprint going forward for yourself and for your family members. Thank you so very much for everyone. God bless you. Look forward to seeing you down the road.
Thank you, Mr. Bridges. Next, Mr. Hardy, you have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I just want to say in this county, we have been sleeping. It's time to wake up because nothing comes to a sleeper but a dream. Like Jesse Jackson seeking a nomination in 1984, I am looking for rocks laying around. I am going up against David, and this is a David and Goliath situation. And each one of you as an individual is somebody that can do something about what's going on. Our county executive has not been present. She has not handled COVID properly, and she has decimated many of our departments. And it's time that we make a stand and do something different. As your county executive, I plan to make this place we call home a place where we can live, grow, work, play old, and grow to see the next generation enjoy. This will be the first smart county in the United States of America. And I will introduce new tools to schools to increase the education and close the gap by introducing the metaverse and 3D printing. And I plan to build more trade schools and vocational schools so residents, no matter your age, can be prepared for the jobs that are tomorrow, that are here today. I will improve the way we police to protect our citizens, and I will also make sure that we have affordable housing. But there's so much more on my agenda that I want to do, such as creating municipal Wi-Fi and also establishing community banks, because as we see now, Wells Fargo and other traditional institutions that were built off of slavery are not serving our needs properly. I also want to switch our transit system to a public ride share using tech such as Uber and Lyft. And most importantly, I want to bring back truth, trust, and transparency to government. Visit my website at www.hardy4pg.com and see what I have in store for you. Again, I need those rocks laying around.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Hardy. Now, Ms. Sweat, you have 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
Thank you. I want to thank the Prince Georgians, those who are listening, those who may watch later, because I'm new to politics. This is my first campaign. And what I will say to you is, in the last 18 months of traveling around the county, meeting you, talking to you about your concerns, your issues, you've been extremely receptive, and I am thoroughly appreciative of that. That's what I want to do in this county. Restore the power back to the people. And that's why I've run a grassroots campaign, because I'm people-focused and people-centered. I want to help all of us address the concerns that have ailed us for far too long so that we can strengthen Prince George's County. And I will use my 25 years of experience as an attorney, my 20 plus years of experience in the federal government to bring to bear all the resources that are available to us to help us improve where we need to improve, enhance what we need to enhance, and make us a better county. Prince George's County is known as the most affluent African American county in the nation. I believe we can be the most affluent county in the nation, regardless of our color, our ethnicity, or our background. It's just going to take a little bit of work. And if you trust me as your leader, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to work to improve education for our children, to improve the community for those of us who live here, have bred here, have built our lives here. And we're going to do it with extreme competence so that we can become the example for others in the state and the nation to follow. I think you might be muted, Ms. McMorris.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your comments, Ms. Sweat. Thank you for those for each of the candidates that came on, and I hope those who were listening will take heed and to what has been said. I'll just say, even in the comments, one said all the candidates presented great arguments and their professionalism has been appreciated. I also want to say there were many questions in the chat about the incumbent County Exec Angela also Brooks. Yes, she was invited, but she was unavailable to participate. So I just want to answer that question because I know everyone was wondering that. But again, thank you to the NAACP for even allowing me to moderate this. And also thank you to James A. Parker Lay Organization. I'm going to turn this over now to NAACP Prince George's County Chapter President Linda Thornton Thomas. You're muted. You're about as bad as me.
All right. Thank you so very much, Ebony. A wonderful job. And I want to thank each and every person who participated. Thank you, candidates. I know you're working hard. I'm sure you're out now, going out on the trail again. So good luck to each and every one of you. On behalf of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, South County Economic Development Association, the National Association for Black Veterans, Reed Temple, and the NAACP, I want to thank you for joining us. And I hope you have heard some information that is beneficial. Now, I want to take this moment to just share with you an important thing that I think is important. I'm asking you to exercise your constitutional right to vote. It is not just a privilege, but it is a duty that we owe to our children, our neighbors, and our friends. It is important that you vote. You will make a difference. I promise you, you will. You know, and consider voting for someone who will dedicate their time to listen to your concerns and who will visit your neighborhood. Yeah. Vote early, vote absentee, vote in the primary. Demand the best because you deserve it. So once again, thank you for joining us. We provide these forums to assist you in identifying the candidates that will provide the best support for your family and your community. And we believe we do a great job. So thank you, Reed Temple, for getting out there and helping us get the word out. And I am so excited. This is one way to communicate with our community, and we're looking forward for more things. So we're going to hold you to it. And we're going to wait for the next statements, okay, about when you're going to do another forum, all right? Looking forward to that. I want to say to each and every person, have a great afternoon, stay safe, and I'm going to yield it now to Lynette Cosby.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for coming. I'm going to do, we were AME, so we have protocol. So I'm going to thank everybody again and give you some more information, and then we'll be closing out. I want to thank our pastor, Reverend Dr. Mark E. Whitlock, and our First Lady, Reverend Mia Whitlock, the James A. Parker Lay Organization leadership, and all the members, and all of Reed Temple AME Church for the support. I want to thank our partners because we couldn't have done this without you. The Prince George's chapter of NAACP, Prince George's chapter of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, the National Associations of Black Veterans, the South County Economic Development Association. And the National Action Network was also a part of the partnership for Prince George's County. All of those partners are wonderful organizations. Look back at the beginning to see how you can join and be a part of those, because those are long-standing, wonderful organizations for everyone to get involved. Finally, I want to say that this primary is this Prince George's, well, Maryland has a closed primary. So you have to be registered to vote, and you have to be registered to vote as in a party affiliation. So you will have an opportunity to register to vote up until the end of June. The primary election is July 19th. Early voting starts July the 7th. There are mail-in ballots if you still are not comfortable going in person. So you should be getting your mail-in ballot soon if you want to vote that way. But please, your vote is your voice, and we do need to vote. Our next forum will be Saturday, June the 4th at 1 p.m. And that's going to be for the Maryland State candidate for candidates for Attorney General and Governor. Please come out and support us that. And I'm going to end with this in the word of one of my favorite voting rights advocates, Fannie Lou Mahama. She said, "We want ours, and we want ours now. Your vote is your voice, and that's how you're going to get it." Thank you for coming, and you all have a great day.